People in Aboga village always knew the Adeyemi family as the holiday people. They lived in the city and only showed up during Christmas, Easter, or big family celebrations. Whenever their car drove into the compound, children would run around shouting, women would smile, and elders would nod with pride. Life was good for them, or so everyone thought. Mr. Joseph Adeyemi, fondly called Mr. Joe, was the head of the family. He was calm, hardworking, and kind to a fault. He had a wife, Mrs. Esther Adeyemi, and 5 children, 3 grown boys and 2 girls. They were not rich, but they lived well enough to smile, eat, and sleep in peace. In their father's compound in Aboga, Mr. Joe had built a neat bungalow, a sign that city life had been kind to him. But there was one person in that compound who never smiled at their joy, Mr. Joe's elder brother, Paul Adeyemi. Uncle Paul was known in the village for trouble. He was the kind of man who poured kerosene into fire whenever there was already an issue. Bitter, restless, and always angry at someone's happiness. Though he was older than Mr. Joe, he behaved like a jealous younger brother. He had no wife, no child, and no peace. People whispered about him, but nobody ever said anything openly. Then one day, during a season that was not a holiday, Mr. Joe's car drove into the compound again. This time, there was no music. No laughter. No greetings shouted from afar. The car stopped quietly, and when the doors opened, everyone could see it, the heaviness on their faces. Mr. Joe stepped out slowly. His wife looked tired. The children looked confused and withdrawn. Still, villagers rushed out, thinking it was just another short visit. But it wasn't. Without much talk, the family carried their bags into their bungalow and shut the doors. That was when Uncle Paul rushed out of his old thatched house, chewing stick in his mouth, eyes sharp with curiosity. He didn't welcome them. He didn't ask if the journey was fine. He went straight to questions, sharp, uncomfortable questions. The children only looked at him, said nothing, and walked inside. Something was wrong. Life had turned its back on the Adeyemi family. Mr. Joe's business in the city had crashed badly. His sons were struggling to find their feet. His wife had been sick for months, in and out of hospitals, draining what little they had left. Moving to the village was not a plan, it was survival. They decided to stay for 2 months, hoping things would settle. Those 2 months felt like 2 years. Strangely, the moment Mrs. Esther got to the village, her sickness disappeared. She became strong again, cooking, smiling, moving around. Just when they thought, maybe things will finally get better, something else would go wrong. Money issues. Bad news. Failed plans. Endless worry. And Uncle Paul. He was always around. Watching. Listening. Asking questions. Smiling small smiles that never reached his eyes. One morning, their teenage daughter, Nige, sat quietly in a corner scrolling through TikTok. She stumbled on a live prayer session. Something pulled her in. She joined the prayer and cried silently. From that day, she joined the live prayer every morning. She spoke to God like a friend. She told him everything, the shame, the fear, the confusion. God, she whispered one morning, people don't believe we are living in the village. Please help us. One day during the live prayer, the pastor suddenly stopped and spoke about a family. He said the Lord showed him that their problem was not from outside. It was from someone close. Very close. He mentioned an uncle. Nige froze. Her heart beat fast, but she shook it off. Maybe he's just talking, she told herself. The next morning, the pastor said it again. Same message. Same uncle. This time, Nige could not ignore it. She gathered her siblings and told them everything. Fear filled the room, but determination followed. They remembered something. Months earlier, they had suggested a family prayer. Their father had innocently told Uncle Paul, and Paul had strongly refused. No pastor must step into this compound, he had said angrily. That memory settled it. They decided to act quietly. They gathered their small savings and invited the young pastor for a family prayer without telling their father. On the chosen day, Mrs. Esther made sure Mr. Joe stayed home. Uncle Paul tried everything to pull him away: farm inspection, land discussion, village meeting. But Mrs. Esther kept insisting, "Please wait. Something is about to happen." Then the car arrived. Uncle Paul was outside, brushing his teeth with a chewing stick. The moment the man of God stepped out of the car, Paul dropped the stick and ran into his house like a child hiding from rain. The family gathered. Prayers started. The air changed. The pastor paused and said softly, "The one behind this family's problem is here." Silence. Suddenly, a loud scream shattered the compound. Paul burst out of his house, shouting, holding his chest, rolling on the ground. "My body! Fire! Fire!" Fear gripped everyone. The pastor stood firm. "Confess, or I will help you confess." Paul screamed louder. Then the words came out, heavy, ugly, shocking. "I am jealous," he cried. Jealous of his life. Jealous of his children. Jealous of everything he has. Everyone stood frozen. Paul confessed how he attacked the family spiritually. How he couldn't stand Mr. Joe's peace. How giving him money was not enough. How seeing him succeed burned him inside. He admitted striking the business, the children, the marriage. Tears flowed freely. Mr. Joe fell to his knees, crying like a child. The children held each other, shaking. Nobody imagined their enemy was blood. After the prayers, Paul collapsed, weak and broken. They carried him into his house and left him there. The pastor turned to the family and said, "Leave now. Go back to the city. Everything will be restored." They obeyed. As soon as they returned to the city, miracles unfolded. Their landlord came begging, saying there had been a misunderstanding. Mr. Joe's company called him back. His sons found stability. His daughters returned to school. Mrs. Esther's business grew beyond imagination. Peace returned. And the family learned a hard lesson: never walk away from God, and never assume you have no enemy. Sometimes, the closest person smiling at you is the one holding the knife. Because sometimes, the witch is not far away.